So let's kick things off here. Let's talk about this. Dr. Dustin Nabhan. Boy, now I don't know if I want to say Nabhan.
Okay.
We should really look up how to say his name. Dr. Dustin is now a member of the Cleveland Browns staff. They hired him as the head of athlete health and performance. I'm just going to go through some notes here, and then we'll talk about what it all means. But he's going to oversee the entire training staff. He specializes, Browns fans get ready to applaud. He specializes in injury prevention.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank God. Thank God. We need that in the worst way. So digging in a little deeper, found out he's a holistic chiropractor. He's got certifications in sports medicine, strength and conditioning, and musculoskeletal ultrasonography. I don't know what that is.
Me either.
Just wanted to mention it.
Should have looked that up too.
I'm sure somebody will let us know. Don't know what that is, but it sounds cool.
Yeah.
So all that stuff really means is, like we just alluded to a little bit, we've been begging the Browns to do something about all the injuries on this team. And this just, this shows that the Browns listen to our podcast.
Yes.
So.
Just after last year, I mean, it wasn't comical, obviously, because we're talking about people's careers and we're talking about their health and stuff like that. But it got to a point last year where I was just like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? I had to do a refresher, right? Just on how out of control it got. These were just season-ending injuries, soft tissue, all that. Jacob Phillips, preseason. I mean, that was kind of...
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're going way back.
Yeah. Jakeem Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Conklin. We're not going to do Nick Chubb. That's really had nothing to do. Yeah. Deshaun Watson, I feel like we can probably leave off of that as well.
Yeah, some of those kind of fluky accidents.
Yeah. Rodney McLeod.
Yep.
Jedrick Wills.
Yep.
DeJuan Jones. Maurice Hurst.
So all of our tackles.
Mm-hmm. And then just some other guys. Michael Woods. Dawson Deaton and Drew Forbes. These were all just... And a lot of these guys were beginning of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or training camp.
And you think about, we lost Grant Delpit for a little while.
Yeah.
Trying to think. The injuries...
Juan Thornhill was up and down all year.
All year.
Just kind of out of control. To me, I like the idea of it, right? Because it's the Browns saying, hey, we have a situation that kind of feels out of control. Let's bring this guy in and see if he can change the whole process. Because I know Blake's been barking about this for years. Like, what's going on? Can we hire somebody that can, whether it was, therapists or whatever it was, there was something going on. We thought at one point,
what he always says, can we get a specialist in here to teach these guys how to stretch? Like just something to stop these injuries.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But I mean, the idea of it, I really don't know anything about this guy as far as,
other than this,
right, what you read. But I like the idea of it.
He spent 12 years with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So he was...
it's a big deal.
Was he the head of, I forget, patient care at the Olympic training centers, and he was with Team USA medical staff from 2012 to 2018. So he did the Olympics in 2012, 14, 16, and 18.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's got extensive experience with injury prevention methods, and he's big into research. That's another thing I didn't put in the notes, but I saw that repeated over and over when I was reading about him. He does, he's very research focused. So injury prevention research, I mean, the Olympics, you're talking about top tier athletes putting their bodies through some of the highest strain you can possibly put it through.
Yep.
And I mean, you talk about careers that one injury derails an entire career.
Or one shot, you know what I mean? You get one opportunity at it.
You work your whole life for one shot. The Olympics are brutal, man.
Right.
So he's never worked with the NFL before, but I think that his experience just in this realm of injury prevention with athletes, and especially that lower body stuff, like you were saying, it was just ridiculous these past few years.
I would be very okay if we could just have most of our starters stay healthy. I would, man, sky's the limit. Wheels up. I mean, seriously.
And we've been saying that. We've been saying this so much. Like, if this team stays healthy, man, this roster's got some... It's got some firepower. It's got some potential to do some big things this year. And, I mean, injuries could really derail everything. But they tried to derail it last year. We defied the odds. But, again, the way we were defied the odds just wasn't sustainable.
It's not, no.
And it was fun. It was really cool. But I'd like to have my starters.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd like to have my starters. So
Agreed.
Dr. Dustin, welcome to Cleveland. I imagine he's probably going to bring some of his own like staff and people too.
Yeah,
like, just
gotta think so.
So I pray everybody, let's just hold hands, say a prayer that this works, that this somehow helps the Browns avoid all the injuries again, because I can't do it again, dude.
It's yeah, very tough. But
all right, well, yeah, okay. So that's Dr. Dustin. Let us know what you guys think. Was this a good move? Is this something the Browns need to do? I can't imagine you would think they don't. I think every NFL team anymore could really look into this. I think it was interesting that Bob Golick, and we've said this multiple times now, but when we sat with Bob Golick and we talked about how these guys only have 8 practices of contact during the summer, before the preseason games and all that kind of stuff. And I started to ask him, he didn't even let me finish. I started to ask him, do you think that's leading to all these injuries? He's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because he said they used to have 5 weeks of 2-a-days full contact. And there is something to both the physical and psychological, like he was saying, of getting hit. I mean, It's a very violent sport. And, nobody, even like me in high school in my prime fitness and playing football, I couldn't just walk out there day one, put on the pads and go hit and be okay.
Right.
You got to condition. You got to work your way up to it. And the more you work your way into that, the mentality of hitting and being hit and the physicality, just the easier it is to take on your body and your mind and everything. So I'm with him on that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird that their push to avoid injuries may be leading to an increase in injuries. Yeah. But something to chew on, NFL. Anyway, but did you want to give any comments or thoughts on the hiring of the Dr. Dustin for the Browns medical staff?
So I don't know a ton about him, okay, except for the notes that you put together for us.
Okay, it's about the same.
You're a good guy for doing this. But I will say this. I feel like I've been beating on the drum about overhauling the medical staff and the way we approach medicine and injury prevention and rehab almost the entire time we've been on this podcast. Because I've said, why is it the Browns are having so many soft tissue injuries? I feel like we are at the top of the league every year in these kinds of injuries. And then obviously last year, like unbelievable how many injuries we had. And obviously it's a full contact sport with grown men. Injuries are going to happen. I'm not going to say you can point at a doctor and say, this is your fault that this guy broke his forearm when it got crushed between 2 helmets. Okay. We're not saying that, but there is something to be said about prevention. And I see he specializes in injury prevention. That's huge. Like there are teams that have kind of gone to maybe what you would be considered like not the norm in terms of the way they think about medicine or rehab. And they look at things that other people might not think of. And you see their injuries, especially soft tissue injuries and non-contact injuries, go way down because they're thinking outside the box. So I think it's huge for the Browns to try something new and get some new blood in here, because I am tired of seasons being derailed by injury. And I'm not saying that the Browns have had loaded rosters my whole life and we wouldn't have been the laughing stock for 25, 30 years if we had a better medical team. But you've also heard past Browns players kind of talk about the medical team. Like, look at how they handled Odell, even Baker, Deshaun last year. Like, there's been lots of stuff with injuries in the Browns organization, as we've been even long before this podcast, where it's like, what are we doing? So I think it's a good hire. Anything we can do to try to limit the soft tissue and the non-contact injuries, like the preventable stuff, as preventable as injuries can be. You know what I mean? In a sport like this, but I think it's a good hire. I like it.
Well, you'll like that because we gave you your flowers before you got here and said, Blake's been harping on this for years.
Yeah.
So,
and some people said there's a lot of times I say things on here and people say I'm an idiot. I can be an idiot. But then it turns out like full circle and I wasn't. So good for me, I guess.
You're an idiot.